When pricing your home to sell, I always say there's two key components, one part art and one part science. The art is the intrinsic value and information that your real estate professional brings to the table from their knowledge of the market and their experience. The science is the data behind the numbers, right? The relevant sales and comparables. But there's also one key piece of data that many real estate professionals miss when pricing your home. Hi, my name is Susan Glens. I am the founder of Bespoke Homes team at Keller Williams Realty, a top 1% team serving the greater Rochester and Finger Lakes area of New York. If you're a homeowner looking to sell in the next 6 to 12 months, you've come to the right place. My goal is to help you sell confidently and profitably. So let's dive into the one key piece of data that I think many real estate professionals miss when talking to homeowners like you about selling their home. Most folks dive right into the comps, right? They look at the pricing that their neighbor's home sold for, price per square foot, all of that. And that's great, and that is definitely helpful in informing a pricing strategy. However, what I like to do is zoom out first. So I want you to think of it as a funnel. We're gonna zoom out to zoom in. So the zoom out is really looking at what type of market are we even playing in. I find that when we zoom in too quickly, we often miss the bigger picture. So going right to comparable data and recent sales could miss the type of market that we're playing in to begin with. So let's review the 3 different types of markets that you could be playing in if you're a seller. The first is a seller's market, the second is a buyer's market, and the third is a balanced market. Now, anecdotally, an agent may say, we're in a seller's market. Well, great. What does that exactly mean? For me, I say prove it. Show me the numbers, because I think a key piece that is missed often is that while the broader market could be in a seller's market, your specific town and your specific price point could be in a completely different market based on the competitive inventory, right? Think of it like the national market. Overall, the nation could be in a seller's market, which is depleted of inventory, and yet you could have a particular state for whatever reason that has a lot of inventory because there's a lot of new construction going on. Same thing with weather, right? You could have a national average temperature across the country right now could be 65 degrees, and yet here in Rochester, it's a whopping 40 degrees. So that's why I share with my clients that getting hyper local, right? Zooming out first, but then getting hyper local will help set us up for success. The first type of market is a seller's market. And what a seller's market means is that there's not enough homes to satisfy the demand. So there's more buyers than there are homes for sale. This is the type of market we've been experiencing in the Rochester and Finger Lakes area since 2020. In a seller's market, the seller is in the driver's seat. That means that we generally see multiple offers driving the price up, very favorable terms, and sellers can really out-negotiate buyers in most cases. On the flip side of that is a buyer's market. We haven't experienced that in quite a while, except for certain pockets in different times of year and different price points. A buyer's market means that there are plenty of houses to choose from, and buyers can take their pick and name their price. Buyers generally have more leverage in a buyer's market, and sellers, we're often seeing longer days on market. We're seeing multiple price reductions to kind of chase the market down, and that's really the typical indicator of a buyer's market. Now, on the way from a seller's market to a buyer's market is something in the middle called a balanced market. Now, a balanced market doesn't last for long because it's a transitional phase. And here's how we know what type of a market we're in. I'm going to just show you the analysis in a second, the report that I run for my clients. However, here's how we know high level. If we are in a market with 0 to 3 months of inventory, we are in a seller's market. If we are in a market with somewhere between 3 or 4 and 7 months of inventory, we're in a balanced market. And if we are in a market with more than 7 months of inventory, we are absolutely in a buyer's market. Now let's dive into a real life example so I can show you exactly what inventory absorption looks like and the insights that we can derive from it. So what you're seeing here is a custom report that I run once you're ready to look at a high-level pricing strategy. Now, full disclosure, for the purposes of this video, some of these numbers have been fabricated so that I can demonstrate for you some insights that I'd like you to see. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is this left-hand column right here. This is the various price breaks in the market that I believe your home will sell in, right? Somewhere between 400 and 550,000 in this case. It's a very wide range, and it's meant to be wide so that we can demonstrate what's happening in the market that you're playing in as well as around the market that you would be playing in. And then you can see we have 3 blue columns: for sale, pending, and sold. The for sales show us how many homes are for sale right now in your specific hyperlocal market. In this case, the town of Pittsford. So we have 18 homes for sale. You can see how it breaks down in the various price points. We have 43 homes pending sale, which means the sellers have accepted an offer and they're simply waiting to close. And then over the last 12 months, there's been 248 sales. Now, this is a lot of information and it doesn't mean anything until we derive some insights from it and do some calculations. So the first calculation I do is this column here, the sold per month. This is the sell-through rate of inventory in your town in this price point. So for example, in Pittsford, under 400,000, on average, 2.6 homes sell per month, whereas over 550,000, on average, 15.7 homes sell per month. So you can see in general, 24 homes sell per month in the town of Pittsford in this fabricated example. Now, this is the most important piece of information on this report, and it's the last column. It's the months of supply. This is where we can compare the months of supply in your market to the numbers that correlate to a buyer's market, a seller's market, or a balanced market. So what you can see overall is that the months of supply in the Pittsford market currently, according to this report, is 0.7 months of supply. What that means is that there's 18 homes for sale, and if 24 homes sell every month, then if no new homes hit the market, it would take less than 1 month, specifically 0.7 months, to sell through those 18 homes. That's a very fast moving market. And if you go down to this supply key, you can see that 0 to 3 months of supply is a seller's market, 4 to 7 months is a balanced market, and over 7 months of supply is a buyer's market. So as you can see in the town of Pittsford and in every price point, it's currently in this example a seller's market. Now, what is this information telling us? Well, let me walk you through 2 to 3 key pieces of information that I think are valuable for you to know as a homeowner if you were selling in Pittsford. The first is, let's take a look at average days on market here. What you'll see is that the solds were on average selling in 7 days. The pendings, it took an average of 8 days to sell. So approximately 1 week, and these homes are going under contract. But currently, the active inventory right now in this example is 24 days on market. That tells us that the market is slowing down. And that's really important for us to know, because if you were to list your house tomorrow, I can help set an expectation of how long it might take to sell. There are 3 key insights that this report can tell us. The first is that yes, while overall we are in a seller's market, I want to draw your attention to this number right here. Do you see how in the $451,000 to $500,000 range, we are in 2.5 months of supply, compared to on either side of it, we're at 0 months of supply or 0.6 months of supply. Now, 2.5 months is still a seller's market, don't get me wrong. However, it tends to show that that's a slower moving price bracket. And so I would want to use that with you to say, we should consider avoiding that price range to start our list price if speed is important to you inside of the market. So maybe inside of this market, rather than price at $475, we strategically price at $449. That would bring us into this price bracket here where, look, there's no competition currently. There's not a single person selling that's priced between $401 and $450. The second key insight that we can look at here is the average days on market. You'll notice that the solds is 7, the pendings is 8, and the for sale active inventory is 24. So what does that tell us? Well, number one, the inventory is slowing down, meaning the sell-through rate is slowing down, right? So, well, on average, it took 7 to 8 days to sell the solds and pendings. The current inventory of 18 units is sitting on the market for 24 days. That's over 3 weeks. That doesn't mean it's meant to scare you, right? It's simply meant to inform you that it could take a little bit longer to sell. And also, let's dive in, let's focus on this and really look at why are these homes taking longer to sell. And typically what you'll see, at least in this market right now, is when we uncover why are these homes sitting for longer, is one of 2 reasons. Either one, it's subpar inventory, which means they're not staged properly, they don't show as well, and so they're considered leftover inventory, really. And then secondly, it could be that the sellers are pricing it based on what their neighbor's house sold for, not what their neighbor's house listed for. And so that's why it's taking longer to sell, because the sellers are using more fair market value or aspirational pricing rather than teaser pricing. And the third and final insight, which we kind of already alluded to, is I always want to look at these pockets here to see, is there any pocket that is starving for inventory? And as you can see, this 401 to 450 price range has currently no competition. And it's also, like we said earlier, butting up against a price point with 2.5 months of supply. So this could strategically be a really interesting place to start for you as a seller. Now, we just looked at the details in the report, and one of the first things I would do when we meet is say, do you want me to high level and bottom line it for you, or do you want to see the details? Do you want to see the data? Most people really enjoy seeing the data, so we'll go through all of that in fine detail. At the end of the day, though, I want you to take home the key insights that it's driving for you. Something else that I think is really important about this report is it's like a balance sheet. So it's like a snapshot in time, which means it could literally change tomorrow, right? If all of a sudden 10 homes between the price point of 401 and 450 list, then that inventory completely switches and we no longer are in a pocket of zero competition. So that's why it's so important to continuously update this. So if we were to meet today and run through it, we would put together a strategy. And then let's say you were planning on listing in 3 weeks or 3 months, depending on the runway that you need to get your home ready. I will continue to update this and we will run it again right before we go to list so that we can look to our left, look to our right, and decide how we're pricing ourselves, who we're pricing ourselves against. So again, it's this inventory absorption supply analysis is a snapshot in time, just like a balance sheet for financials that shows you what your assets and your liabilities are today. It can change tomorrow, which is why it's so important that you partner with someone that can not only understand this, but has a commitment to staying on top of it and continuously bringing you back to the data to drive your insights and inform your decisions. If you found today's information valuable, hit the like button and comment below if there's additional topics you'd like me to cover in the future. And if you're a homeowner looking to sell in the next 6 to 12 months and you'd like some insight into the inventory position in your market and your price point, click the link in the description below to get connected.